In 2008, that when the market crashed, I was freaking riding my horse, like my high horse. I was like, I'm the shit,
Yeah.
I was in my 20s. I was driving a $120,000 Range Rover. I had multiple properties. I had just built my dream house in Florida.
Yeah.
I had a chef. I had a nanny. Everything was perfect. I was making $700,000. That was a lot. It still is a lot of money. I was making $700,000. And I went from that to in a year, I had to short sell my house. I was at the verge of filing bankruptcy. I was hiding my car. And we could say, well, it was the economy and it was this and that. No, it was my fault because I wasn't prepared. Yeah. I didn't have the structure so that if something huge like this happens that I can pull out of it. There's a recession. The housing market crash. But still, there's so many other things that I could have done to prepare.
We have a special guest here today, Michelle Fermin.
Hello, how are
you doing,
you?
Michelle?
And yes, I am special.
You guys have been doing a training, the Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins, the man.
What have you guys learned so far?
Wow, so this is actually my third Tony Robbins event. 20-some years ago, I actually went into a live event. It was in Boston. Do you guys remember Christopher Reeve, like the original Superman?
Yep, of course. He doesn't.
I don't.
But I do.
Yeah, so this was after he had his accident.
So he had an accident, and he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he was a quadriplegic. I don't know how to even say that right. Quadriplegic. There you go, right?
Okay.
So he came in, and I remember during that time, I came out, and I was like, what the hell did I just experience? And I was in my 20s. And I was like, what the hell did I just experience? I remember being invigorated. And I can tell you that truly I felt like it helped shape a lot of the rest of my career. And then I started looking for that type of energy, right? I started looking to be parts of groups like that. And since then, I've been into a million of these business masteries.
And what year was that?
Shit, it was 20-some years ago. Can we swear here, by the way?
Yeah.
I think that was the first thing that I noticed.
Did I swear a lot?
No. What I noticed about you is like you have this aura, like this energy, this presence. And how much of it was intentional? Were you always like that as a child? Or after these events, after you've invested in yourself, then you started picking up the pace?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, right? But I would say, yes, I was like that as a child. And my father was awesome. When I was growing up, my father used to literally just instill in me, you were meant for greatness, you were meant for greatness. So my dad was a really, big part of that. I dropped out of school when I was 14 years old to help my parents.
Nice.
I literally dropped out of school when I was 14 years old to help my parents pay the bills because literally we were poor. So I had to grow up really quick. And I started my first business when I was 15. So I think that when you start doing things like that, you have to just be able to talk to people, right? You have to be able to get out of that shell and learn from people. So I think it was just kind of, a long process. Mm-hmm. But I love Tony Robbins and that type of vibe.
Yeah.
Michelle, you said you started your first business when you were 15.
Yeah.
I automatically go from somebody that says that, knowing they went through some stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they learned some things. And there was a lot of failures that turned you to the successful woman you are today. Talk a little bit about that, about some of the breakthroughs that you went through that I see Tony Robbins saying, you got to break through. You got to go through that. I tell that to myself all the time. When I'm too comfortable, or I'm not having breakthroughs, or I'm not having failures, I know it's dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Yeah, my first business, it was a cleaning service. And I remember I built it up to a few hundred accounts. And again, I was 15. And I remember lying my ass off. And people would ask me, how old are you? Well, I'm 19. Total BS. But in a few years, I built it to a couple hundred accounts. And I sold the business. It was $30-something thousand. But to me, that was like $3 million. And I went, I was ghetto poor. I was like, I'm going to, treat all my friends to all these things. And I realized very quickly that that wasn't a lot of money and that money went very quick. With the little that I had left, I actually started a second business. It was a billiard hall, and that was crazy. I mean, talk about, I was the only girl there with like 100 guys who were drunk, who were gambling, who were not the best people. Yeah. And I remember my first night, there was a shootout, and I was under the table, and I was like, what the hell did I get myself into? Yeah. Literally. And every day it was just an absolute shit show. And luckily, my mom right after that had said, well, I want to buy a house. And because she had limited resources, limited English, and limited education, I stepped in. I said, I'll go get my license, as if I could just go pick it up at the bodega. I'll go get it.
I'll take a driving test. Right?
Yeah, I'll be right back. And my goal was to help her and then help her get out. And then I wanted to go back to school because I wanted to become a doctor. And when I got the thrill of not only helping her, but I remember her neighbor came over and said, wow, well, if you helped your mom, can you help me as well? And she had the same, limited resources, and, no one wanted to help. So it just became, a catapult of everyone, hey, help us. And that first year, I was Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
It was wild. And then by the third year, I was offered a brokerage. And it was wild because that brokerage, I brought it to the number one brokerage in the state. And the crazy part was we were all Latinas. We were all women. A lot of us are single moms. And we didn't have the luxury of failing. So for us, it was like, I'm a single mom. There's no way in hell that I'm going to fail.
There's this saying, say, burn the boats.
That's right.
You ain't have a choice.
No options.
You had to make it.
But you said something interesting. You said, challenges. Yeah. In 2008, that when the market crashed, I was freaking riding my horse, like my high horse. I was like, I'm the shit, Yeah. I was in my 20s. I was driving a $120,000 Range Rover. I had multiple properties. I had just built my dream house in Florida. Yeah. I had a chef. I had a nanny. Everything was perfect. I was making $700,000. That was a lot. It still is a lot of money. I was making $700,000. And I went from that to, in a year, literally, I think I made like 90, which was still a lot of money, but my expenses were almost 200.
Yeah.
And it was, I had to cut and cut and cut and cut. And I remember the woman who was my nanny, who was unbelievable. I went to her, and she was the last person that I wanted to cut. And I said, I can't afford to keep you anymore. And with tears in her eyes, I'll never forget this. She said, you've done so much for me, I would work for free for you. Wow. And I was like, what the fuck? Wow. I will never allow myself to be at this point again. And I remember when she said that to me, I just started bawling. Like, I'm getting emotional now. And I said, holy cow, like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
And yeah, we could say, well, it was the economy and it was this and that. No, it was my fault because I wasn't prepared. Yeah. Yeah. No matter what happens, it was my fault. I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the structure so that if something huge like this happens, that I can pull out of it.
You mentioned how when you started in business, you were really helping. You were giving.
Yeah.
It was about that. And you became Rookie of the Year. That was awesome. But you were doing it without having that. Like, you weren't doing it for yourself. You weren't doing it to be Rookie of the Year. You became Rookie of the Year helping someone else. Yeah. So for that to come back to you, after falling from success, from being in the top high so much, $700,000 a year, 2008.
It was crazy.
That's athlete money.
It was athlete money, and I was wild. And I thought I was, the shit.
Yeah, you were.
It was so funny. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I remember bringing my daughter to school, and I was like, we really need to be smart about money because mommy's broke now. And I'm pulling up in my Range Rover, and my daughter's telling the teacher, I think we need to get the free lunch thing because and she was like, what? So to even go through that mentality, right? Yeah. But yeah, when everything hit the fan, I had to, first of all, own it. Yeah. It's not anybody else, it's me. I let myself be getting this point, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a recession. Yeah, the housing market crash. But still, there's so many other things that I could have done to prepare.
David Goggins, he has a quote that says, success is not a straight line.
There you go.
It's a maze.
Oh, I love that.
And the moment that you think that you have it figured out, that's when you run into the glass. And
I love that.
Your story, it kind of reminded me of that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful quote.
So do you feel like you're on the way to a straight like line, or do you feel like you're in a maze right now?
Oh, hell no.
No, right?
So when I look back, right, 2008, everything that happened, and I had to short sell my house. I was at the verge of filing bankruptcy. I was hiding my car. I took the last $10,000 that I had, and there was a guy who ran a newspaper. It was called El Siglo. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It was called El Siglo, and I said to him, "Hey, I want to take that last page on your newspaper, the last, like the back part," and I didn't have the money to pay him. And he's like, "All right, well, I'll sign you." I signed a 1-year contract, and I don't remember. I think it was like $8,000 a month, and I'm like, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do? I have to make this work." And I figured, what can I do right now to make myself completely different than everyone else? Because everyone was like a mass exodus. It was panic, right? And I said, okay, we know we have this issue. How can I solve it? And how do I become the expert for that? So I started putting everywhere. Hey, if you're in this problem, you're losing your home, you're upside down, I'm the one that's going to help you. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was quickly going to find out. So I identified a problem. I went all in. I made sure that I became the expert. And then people just started flooding towards me. So I went from like, I think it was, 20 some houses, my worst year, to within a few years, I think within 2 years, I was selling over 150 homes a year by myself.
When I found out about, because Toby was telling me, "Oh, Michelle's in the building," I'm like,
yeah.
Yo, who? I'm like, who's Michelle? And then I go home.
He said, "You're telling me that like I'm supposed to know her."
Yeah, I'm supposed to know who this Michelle is.
Oh my gosh!
And then I go home, and I'm like, "Yo, Michelle Fermin's in our building right now doing some Tony Robbins event." And my mom's like, "Yeah, my first house, she was the one."
No way, what is her name?
That's how much value that you've been giving to several communities. You're very well known. You've identified a problem. Then you decided that this is what I'm going to commit myself to. This is what I do. Yep. And that's your way of bringing like value to the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know who you are because I'm young as hell. I haven't bought any houses yet. But when I do buy houses,
it's going to be with us.
Exactly.
No, but I mean, that's a real, takeaway from this. Identify a problem, make yourself different, and make yourself the expert in that area. Yep. And what I did was, it's like, especially for the first year, I just put my face everywhere. I was everywhere. And I said, I'm going to make sure that when people think I have a problem, oh, that girl, that curly-haired girl down in line, she can help you. And that's what started happening. Mm-hmm. And then within a few years, like I said, within 2 years, I was selling over 150 homes. It was wild.
Yeah. So Michelle, basically when the market fell and everybody was panicking,
I doubled down.
You doubled down. And that's amazing. That's where you are. I'm sure that's where you are today. So everybody that needed to get out of a house, that had this issue, it would go Michelle.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But here's another lesson from this, right? I identified this problem, and I knew, hey, what are the trends? Yeah. And this is part of what's happening with Tony Robbins, right? I knew that the next trend was bank-owned properties. Because if people can't afford their homes, they're upside down, what's going to happen? Mm-hmm. Eventually, they either short sell them or they let them go. Yep. So I knew that was the trend. Yep. It hadn't happened, but it was coming. So while I'm, killing it in short sales, I surrounded by myself with really great people that can help me. Mm-hmm. And then I started focusing on these bank-owned properties. And I went all in on that. And it took me about 2 years, but then it's called REO. I became the REO queen. And I had 200 properties, because I became the it person in Massachusetts. So pay attention, right? Yeah. I identified a problem before it became a problem, made myself the expert, and then I put myself in front of those people that I knew, just like Tony was talking about, that I knew would be able to shift things and help me get into that space.
And that's how you maximize leverage, like finding, like you said, a problem that it's not very known yet. Yeah. So you are that first wave.
That's right. We were talking about Google earlier today and how my daughter's doing a session. We really went all into this about 3 years ago when nobody was thinking about Google as a marketing source, when no one was thinking about Google as a social media feed. Mm-hmm. And that's how we use it. And even still today, people say, wait, you use it as a social media feed? Hell yeah. It's the largest search engine in the world. But I identified that 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, I said, I'm going to market the hell out of it. I'm going to become the expert, and I'm going to start really pulling in that business. So now when people are like, oh, we need to do this, I already have it cornered. I've done all the work. I'm on to the next thing that's going to come up in 2 years. So I already identified that. I mastered that. And that's why when people say, well, why are you teaching it? You know what? Most people won't do the work. Yeah. They won't. They just won't do it. So I can tell you everything. I can give you all my secrets.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's what we learned with the seminar. We're learning. It doesn't matter what you learn if you don't do. You got to do it. You got to do it. And you're definitely a doer. And I admire that a lot about you. You know, we were just speaking about the Google stuff, and then I was like, oh, I don't know, I got to talk to my marketing team. You're like, I checked. You might want to check on that. And I was like, I should know a little bit more about that. But that's something that's so amazing that you continue to say, I'm willing to teach. I'm willing to teach my secrets.
For sure.
Because I understand that the demand is there and it's good. If you want to learn, you still continue to keep giving and giving. You started giving back when you started helping your neighbor. Yeah. You continue to go for that giving. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why you're so blessed. I enjoy doing that too. Everybody that knows me know I love giving. I love teaching all my secrets. I love doing that because we should all want to be able to be in the same.
Of course.
And hearing that from you, because I do know about Michelle Fermin, the Fermin Group.
Now I know.
And having this personal conversation with you and seeing, oh, wow, that's where it came from. It was the giving.
Yeah.
You know, and now we jumped a little bit back here and forth, got to the Google to where now. But after you did the 150 houses and you were alone.
Yes.
So now you're doing this alone. When did you start creating this dream team, this amazing team that I see? Because I see a lot of your agents, and like I was telling you before,
they're just badass. Let's be real.
You found them that way? Or?
No. Well, this is what happened, right? So 2017, I peaked at 160 some houses. I think it was 165. My then assistant said, you either start a team or I'm out, because we literally had no life. We were just working around the clock. And I said, all right, I'm going to start a small team. So first year, which was 2018, we started a small team. We were number one in the state. Then 2019, number one in the country for Century 21, right? And then 2020, our CEO, who is like the greatest CEO ever, his name is Mike Meadler. He's the CEO of Century 21 in the world. Mm-hmm. And he calls me, and at that time we were 10 agents, but 9 were producing, 1 wasn't. And he said, you're number one team in the world. And I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, you're the number one team in the world. I was like, but we're only 9 agents. But we did 390 homes that year. Wow. Now, when you think about, in real estate, 51% of agents don't sell anything. 51%. And then another 30 sell under 5 homes a year. And my agents were doing 39 transactions. That's a big deal. Yeah. That's a big deal. Wow. 89% of agents will fail within the first 5 years. 89. So, it's incredible to see when someone does 15 homes a year, you're like, wow. Yeah. Someone does 20, you're like, holy shit. When someone does 30, you're like, okay, teach me. Yeah. And we were averaging 39 units per agent. Mm-hmm. So at that point, we were like, okay, we're number one in the world. We obviously got something here. How do we grow this team strategically and make sure, one, that we don't lose our culture, right? And that we really focus on need. So we identified areas that we knew that we were lacking in, and we went all in. And we looked for the best coaches, because I am a huge coaching fan. I've had a coach since 2009. I've had I have 3 coaches right now. So I truly believe in coaching. So we would identify where we were lacking, and we would really go all in, and we'd look for the right people, meaning right coaches, to help us fill those needs and identify agents. So maybe like right now we're looking for agents in the Lynn, Saugus area. I'm very lead heavy there, but I don't have enough boots in the ground. And my team, literally, we will scope people out. Mm-hmm. This person's great. I love them. We start paying attention to them. And we have a conversation. We're looking for people to collab with us, not to compete. We're looking for agents who want to grow, meaning you're coachable. And that's a really hard thing to do.
It is.
I'm curious, Michelle, what were the needs that you guys were pinpointing that needed work, that needed coaching during that time?
So at 2020, the first thing I said is our CRM is an absolute shit show. And you remember I showed you my CRM.
Yeah.
I said our CRM is an absolute shit show. We started demoing. I had my daughter start going through and demoing the best companies. And it took us about 6 months to figure out what we needed. Mm-hmm. And then when we found the right company, then we tailored it to us. Okay. And the conversation was really hard with my team because everyone was doing great. And, for me to say now you're going to make all of your calls through the system. You're not going to use your telephone number. I'm going to listen to all of your calls and we're going to track it. They were like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. And I said, trust me, just trust me on this. And it took us about 18 months, but then when we started doing those things, we were able to identify other issues that we had, right?
So you heard Alex, sorry to interrupt. No privacy out here.
Yeah.
We got to be in each other's stuff.
Literally.
Yeah.
I'll be listening to your calls soon.
Yeah, please do.
Well, it's not just about that. It's if you don't identify, just like they were talking about, if you don't identify what your problems are, then how the hell are you going to grow? How are you going to fix it, right? Correct. If you don't know what your problems are, how are you going to fix it?
Yeah.
So you saw that I showed you my numbers. We knew our numbers, and it's not every week, every month. It's every day I'm going through them. And every day I'm like, okay, Joe Blow, I gave you 100 leads. You haven't converted anything. Let's sit down together and see how I failed you so that we can fix this problem that you can convert. Right?
But that's leadership. That's
and all the Fortune 500 companies do exactly. There's a reason why you're number one. Yeah. Like even at Northwestern, in my time there, you would have to track all your calls and all your cases and all your prospects, everything. You have 100%. To upload all the data you did. How 100. Many breaths you took in the last seconds, like everything.
Well, that's so true. Yeah. But then what happens when you go into sales, whether it's whatever, right? Whether it's real estate or car or whatever it may be, you're like, oh, my own boss now. I don't need to do that. What changed? Nothing has changed. Yeah. Of course you need to do that. Correct. Nothing has changed. What makes you think that you know better than the Fortune 500 companies that have spent decades, if not hundreds of years, coming up with these systems and has made them trillions and trillions of dollars? But no, I know better. It just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, that's the 20-year-old mentality. The I know better, especially when you haven't experienced real life yet, where you haven't given like a full plate of bills and responsibilities and commitments.
I'm going to disagree with you.
You don't think so? I was a very arrogant 20-year-old.
Really?
Yeah. You would give me the secret like, hey, just drive from point A to point B and you will get what you want. And I'll be like, no, but I don't like the color of the car.
Yeah.
And I don't like the highway you took. I'd rather go there.
Yes.
That was me.
The reason I disagree with you is I find, especially with agents, that the seasoned, experienced agents, they're the ones that don't want to do it because they say, I've been doing it this way and it's worked. Great. You're closing 20 deals, but if you do it this way, you can close 50 deals. And it's really hard to retrain. Yeah. Now, if I take you come on and I show you a certain way, you don't know any different.
Yeah.
For you, it's like, hey, this is the way to do it.
Assuming that I was coachable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
So it's a lot easier, I think, with someone who doesn't have those bad habits. Yeah.
There's some stubbornness that success can create, or small success, that then will stop you from wanting to learn or be coached. Never stop. It don't matter how old you are. You should always be coachable. What did Michelle say right now? How many coaches you have? 3 right now.
I have 3.
No matter where you at, no matter how much success you're doing, you're still coachable.
Yeah.
And that's a key.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things I'm catching here that's so hilarious to me because it's the same things we were watching in the seminar that Michelle already carries. One of it, you mentioned it earlier, was the aura, the state of mind, right? I've been really high on that because subconsciously I used to do it all the time, and that's how I would keep myself in a good mood when things were going wrong. But I didn't know I was doing it, and then now listening to it, I'm like, that state, that's so important. And I think that's what you do. You have the state of mind that you give this energy to your team. Yes. And that's a big key. Tony Robbins says that's number 1, right? That's what you have to that's what he does to us.
Yeah.
He's getting us in a state of mind. So then when he comes to talk, we're there, ready to go to war. He could say, you know what, let's go take over this country and we'll be ready.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Has that been your biggest takeaway?
Yeah.
Wow.
The state. And it's funny because it's something that I reflected and I've been doing, but subconsciously, not strategically, not intentional. And now with that, knowing that, I can understand that because there have also been state of minds when things are a little bit hectic or, back in when I was running the show up here in JBS and I would be urgent or I want to get people to do stuff, I would turn into not that good state of mind anymore. Now I turn into the negative.
Yeah.
I was like, get this shit done.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Now I'm screaming at people.
Yeah.
Now being the opposite of what I was, and it's because of that. I can still get you to do stuff, but control that energy of yours. Have
I
a good state of
100%
mind.
agree.
And I think you do that a lot. Because like I told you earlier, Toby knows, Toby does a lot of your agent's taxes. And every single time that I walk in and they're having a conversation, it doesn't matter if it's a bad, like if we're going through a bad real estate time, whatever, they all have this aura. And I'm like, I want to meet her. Because I feel like I met her through all of them already.
That's what Frank told me that he does his taxes. He was like, I love them.
Energy is contagious.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, we learned an exercise called priming. I don't think they've done it yet. I'm happy to do it with you guys. I'll be Tony Robbins. Right?
Okay, let's do it.
But we do priming on Mondays, and priming, it's a 15-minute exercise, and it literally sets the mood and your energy for the rest of the week. And it's all about gratitude. It's all about just pulling good energy in and pulling out anything that's negative and pushing good energy to everyone that you love. I love stuff like that because it makes you feel good and you feel centered, right? Afterwards, and you're like, yeah, I got this. I own this world.
Yeah.
Right? So I
agree.
love that.
I think having that intention and like that consciousness of just like how important body language is, because previously, like last year was my first year getting my own like throne where I get to not have like hands-on approach. Alex like stepping in, like they're giving me control. And then I was always like trying things out because I was new, experimenting what worked, what didn't. I would focus more on like words and questions, and it does help being curious about someone's situation, especially when you're doing their taxes or accounting. But if my body language was off, it wouldn't connect. Yep. So even if I asked a question, I would have to question it a certain way. And, I would have good intentions, even speaking like with my family members. But then they would say, it wasn't what you said, Gene. It was the delivery, like how you said it. And now...
That's really impressive, especially from a young man like you, that you really caught on to that, to be curious about other people's situations and be empathetic. I love that. Because you really don't learn that until later on in life. At least I didn't. Yeah. I was a lot like you.
Yeah.
Like, we need to get this done. What do you mean? But when I changed that energy and started really focusing on, why are things happening this way and how can I help so that you can feel good about your situation and be able to convert better, made a world of difference. Yeah. And I think that was, a big game changer for us.
Personal and business.
100%.
And like to Michelle's point, I'll be 40
in a couple weeks.
I'll be 40 next in a couple weeks. I really didn't start picking up on that until I started having self-reflection and self-development, which was about 2-3 years ago. So I still have some employees here who work that sometimes when I'm standing behind them, they still have the PTSD. Like, oh my God, is he going to, And having the transparency of who I am now, and them talking to me about it, like, hey, I'm going through this. I'm like, oh man. But at the time, you don't think about that, right? You're just trying to get results because you try to make them. You're trying to get results more for them than for you. Yeah. As an owner, you would know that you're trying to push your people because you want them to be even better than you if they can. Yes, right?
Absolutely.
And you're like, you kind of feel like the parrot. So you're like, I know you can do better. So even as a father, I started having a better relationship with my daughter, who will be turned 21 next week.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so we'll be going to Disney to drink around the world in Epcot for a day.
Oh my!
Can I come? Can I come?
Dad, I want to go drink around the world with you. Okay,
that's what she wanted. So I'm really happy about that. It's during tax season, so I'm gonna go for one day and come back. But having now the relationship I have with her, because I learned how to shifted, learn how to talk, how to understand, and that was very for me eye-opening from my daughter's point of view. She was at that time, she was maybe 16, 17 when I started self-discovering myself. So I can relate to a lot of the things you're saying. I think, same type of generation. It's different than when they were, some of them are catching it and being open-minded. Some are just I feel like they're gonna sleep forever in this generation. But
it's always nice, especially from my point of view as like an employee, like to see someone who has accumulated wealth, who has put in the hours in the game, to decide at the age of almost 40 years old to have a shift in perspective and actually try to improve how he communicates. Most people will go with their vocabulary the same way, same delivery, same tone, and they will go for the rest of their life from 20 to whenever they go. But you, Alex, like I've seen it over and over again over the last 2 years in my time here. Like if I give you, hey, Alex, I didn't like how you said that to me, you actually go and you don't like try to fight me. Even though you have like a authority, you could say, well, if you want to keep your job, do what you got to do. But either way, like you actually listen. That's part of being empathetic.
Well, that's also part of being a great leader, is really listening.
Listening, not hearing. All my life, I was just to hear you.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't listening.
Yeah. But he's open now to listening and saying, okay, this is a problem. I need to resolve this.
Mm-hmm.
I need to resolve this so that I can become a better father, a better employee, a better whatever, right?
Whatever I want, right?
Exactly. So that's I think that's around the 40, that's what had happened to me too.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's
and go ahead.
So I think that's just part of, just getting older and mature.
Let's get into your visions. I think you guys are both leaders. You guys have big visions. What do you guys aspire to do this year, maybe the next 3 to 5?
Oh, I already got my whole life planned out.
So she's ready. What about you?
Michelle's the star. We're here for Michelle.
Let's focus on Michelle then.
So we've actually been doing a lot of stuff. We've been looking at other businesses that are part of real estate, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking mortgage and title and insurance and anything that we can get our hands on. Yeah. So how can we grow in those other sections so that we can bring more marketing dollars into our team and that our team can actually make more money? So that's a big component of what we've done. I've got 5 different licenses last year. I'm working on 3 others now in 5 different states. And it's just part of what we're looking at. One of the big things that we had worked on for 9 months is that coaching site that I told you. And it's funny because it's called MichelleFermin.com. While I went through all of these things like Google and CRM and how do I build this out, I was like, shit, if somebody would just come in and teach me how to do this, it's going to save me time, energy, and money. And I wanted something very strategic. Like, tell me in 30 days that you're going to help me get this done. That Google thing took us 18 months to figure out and thousands of dollars. So when we started doing this, it's like, you know what? Let's compose these little sessions where someone can come in. I could tell you, hey, you want to build a team? I'll show you how to do it. Hey, you want to build an international team and staff them? And how do you pay them? How do you find them? I'll show you how to do it, in 30 days. But then I started thinking even bigger. I was like, well, what if I brought in a tax professional? Okay. And the tax professional comes in and says, you know what? I don't know. What's a big question that they ask you? How do you open up your own tax firm? Or how do you attract? How do you pay? How do you deal with the nuances of, maybe during tax season? And bring other people in like you and say, hey, we have a professional here that does that. And he goes in and does those classes. Or with insurance or with mortgages. So kind of like a one-stop shop. Think of like Masterclass. You ever seen that app?
Yep.
Very specific, 30 days, and they're going to teach you how to do X, Y, and Z on live Zooms. And it's cheap money. I don't know of anybody else that's doing that. So I don't. So it took us 9 months. We found the best person to build out the site. And I found the best partners, which is Kiki and Jess. And we just started building it out. Now we're identifying other people within the space and say, hey, come on in. You do this. I'll get the clients for you. You do this. You teach the session once, a quarter, once a month, whatever. You'll make a great ton of money. Plus you're helping a lot of people. And you're making yourself the leader, the master of that space, right? Because now when people are thinking about taxes, oh yeah, like I went to this phenomenal class. I saw him everywhere. These people are the ones that own that space.
That's very strategic. And that's a big focus of mine this year, strategic thinking.
So again, going back and identifying a need, right? Just like that whole thing with the short sales and the bank owns, identifying a need and then becoming the master of that space. So that's my big project for
Another
this year.
thing I liked about that approach that you took was when you were working on these sites, you didn't sit there like, how do I do all this? How do I create the systems? You immediately pivot and asked, who? Who already knows how to do this?
The experts
that could come in, teach me how to do it. That way I could do it internally.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of people start with that question of how without considering the principle and the power of asking who can help me get to the next level.
That's right.
And a lot of people are just missing a who while they're procrastinating stuck on the how.
What business, Michelle, would you say that you're in?
The Tony Robbins. I'm going to say it's building wealth, actually.
Building wealth.
I think it's building wealth.
I feel like I'm in that business too.
Well, we really
that's
kind
what
of
we kept
all
saying.
are.
Right?
Yeah, but it's funny when someone comes and says, "Hey, Michelle, I want to buy a house." Great. Well, what's your plan in 5 years? Well, I want to own multiple properties. Okay, let's build out that plan now and kind of work backwards. If in 5 years you want to be here and in 10 years you want to be here, what are the steps that I need to take with you now so that the moment we finish with this first transaction, we're working towards the second transaction? And that's what I always did. It wasn't, hey, one and done. It was, all right, you want to own multiple properties? We're not going to look at that single family first. We're going to look at that 4 family. And then in a year from there, I'm going to show you how you can pull equity from there or just utilize that money and then buy a 3. And then a year after that, buy a 2. Then we'll buy your single. We'll buy that single in 5 years. But now you have 10 units. Big difference, right?
You're thinking, it's your level of thinking that's creating, it has a big impact on your results. For instance, it's like, let's say this is a chessboard. Most people, especially young people, they're very tactful.
Yep.
Like if I was playing chess against you, I would just move one piece at a time and I only could see that.
Yep.
The way you described it, let's create a 5-year plan and then work backwards. If I was playing against you in this chess game, you're already like 5 to 20 moves ahead of me.
Absolutely.
So I really cannot, even if I had a desire to win, because you have a strategic way of thinking, I'm going to lose every time against someone like you.
But that's what you have to do, right? Yeah. You have to be innovative. You have to be thinking ahead. What's next? What's happening? How do I get myself in that space? And if you don't know how to do it, find the people that are going to show you how to do it. And that's what I've always done. So even when I was building up my team, I was like, okay, I suck at this and this and that. And what I did is I started shopping for the best coaches. I started shopping for the best coaches, and I was like, this is what I need. We went through those exercises. Once there wasn't any more value in that relationship, that coaching relationship, right? Because we're still friends. Hey, I love you. This is what my needs are. Next, point me to the person that can help me with this. And I would move on to somebody else.
Yeah.
I wasn't like the hoe of coaching or anything, but I identified, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish in our time together. And then at the end of that time together, I need you to help me with this and get me to that right person. And a good coach will tell you that, hey, I've given you as much as I can. Let's get you to the next person.
While listening to the conversation, it just came up to me right now, thinking about what business are we in? We both have said building wealth. I think we all have that common stuff. It also sounds like you're in the business of coaching. That's what I feel like you are.
Coaching.
I can see it.
I love it.
I can see it. Yeah. And that's why I think Michelle's in the business. She's in the business of coaching. And coaching is such a broad thing. And you're here giving so much knowledge, putting so many people on. And I can just see when you're giving energy. And I can just see it. I can see that that's the business that Michelle's in.
So can I admit something? So when I said, hey, let's open this up to other people, I'm talking about the Tony Robbins thing. I was really strategic about who it was. And it's funny because I was getting Glory sending this person. This person's like, hey, I love that person. But let's just make it small and intimate because I know that I could build other relationships from that, right? So I was being intentional. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be stuck in a room for 5 days with, first of all, I want to make sure there's really good energy. But 2, at the end of it, I want to make sure that there's next steps of how do we get to the next level and make money and build relationships. Yeah. And it's worked like a charm, right?
Yeah.
It's worked like a charm.
That was very, very strategic. And it has worked like a charm. Even, and Toby got a little bit of coaching from you because it was strategic versus him. He didn't even know. He's like, I don't know how she got me into it. She really, she was like in the middle of tax season. Like, we would never agree to something like that in the middle of tax season. And then I'm like, damn, man, you committed to something big there. Sorry for you. Next week, I'm in. So, I'm like, Toby, I want to be in.
Michelle, what's your advice to people who are just constantly out there putting out fires? Like, they have that tactful thinking. There's people out there that they're living day to day, paycheck to paycheck, moment to moment. In order to become a strategic thinker, you have to kind of get out of the business. Most people are just working in the business all the time in the operations.
So that was me. And because I'm a driver, because, I'll be honest, I'm a control freak, right? I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
For so many years, I was fully invested in my business. And I remember my daughter saying something to me one day. It was my youngest daughter. She said, Mom, I have a project. When did I say my first words? And I was like, shit, I don't know. And she was like, well, when did I take my first steps? And I'm thinking, I'm going to have to call the nanny. Like, how I felt like a piece of shit. Like, I felt this small. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, my God, when I used to go on vacations, I would literally have a separate room from just to work. I would have a separate room. And I was like, this is crazy. And my daughter, who's here now, my other daughter, she was like, Mom, we can never talk to you. Because I would have, you remember those little headpieces, like the little Bluetooth things? And I would ask them, how was your day? And she would start talking. I'm like, wait, hold on, and work on a deal. Yeah. And it was very frustrating for them. So the piece of advice that I would give is, first of all, make sure that you have a personal life and there's a real fine boundary there because it is not worth it. That's number one. Number 2, I would really find the right people and train them, get on board with what is to be accomplished and let them do their job. That's when I started scaling. That's when we started making big money. Yeah. Because you cannot possibly do everything by yourself. Find the right people and let them do their job.
That's interesting.
That's not spoken enough, like those moments that you're trying to build wealth for your family and future generations. But those moments, the moments where your daughter's 1, 2 years old, and then they grow up.
I don't remember any of it.
Yeah, and then they ask you a question like that.
I felt like a piece of shit. It was like, it doesn't matter. You can have all the money in the world. How is it that you don't remember some simple things like that? Because you're so involved, right? So now for me, my life is completely different. Yeah. My life is my family. My life is travel. My life is helping other people. And I truly believe that by helping other people, it just comes back to you 20 times over. 20 times over.
And then the second thing you said was, I think all business owners should think this way. People are so involved and invested working in the operations, the technical day-to-day things. And when I look at our leaders here, which is mostly the partners, Rob, Alex, Toby, I see them working in the business just like me. They look like other employees, and you can't tell the difference. Yep. But the day that we could have more leaders who are working outside, they're working on the business instead of inside of it, that's going to create a lot of opportunities to grow a lot quicker.
Yep, absolutely.
So you convincing or whatever you did to get Toby and Alex to do this training.
They already know that. They already know that. Yeah. The thing about it is it's scary. It's really scary to think, you know what, I'm making good money. they're not going to do it the way that I'm going to do it. They don't have the training. I'll tell you a secret. In 2019, my mom died. And when my mom passed, I was devastated. And my daughter, Jess, was graduating from High Point. She goes, Mom, my gift is I want to go to Asia. I said, all right. So I want to go to Asia. I had started my team. I think we might have been like 15 people or whatever then. And I said, I'm going to go to Asia for 4 months. Okay, do you understand? When you're in Asia for 4 months, there's no talking to people. Because when it's noon here, it's midnight there. And I literally said, the systems that I put in place, if they don't work, or I didn't do it right, that's it, we're done. Like, we're going to be done. That was the best year that we had. Remember, I told you, we went, it was the best year we had. But I had no choice but to let them do their thing. And when I came back, I said, all right, we're going to grow bigger and better. That's when I started getting myself out of production and really looking at the company. This is the company. I have these really great people. I'm up here now, and I'm looking down, and I'm identifying other opportunities around us.
Yep.
What can I do around us so that I can bring that business into the company, right? Make more money in the company, but create more opportunities. And as we do that, right, then put the right people in those areas. That's all we did. And then I built out a virtual assistant company. So I have a virtual assistant company. I was like, great, and let's really focus on, our development company. Wonderful. Let's start focusing on the coaching company. We just kept really thinking about what else can I do? What else can I do?
You gave me the secret there.
There you go. There you go.
You guys get ready for your birthday. I'm buying you a ticket straight to Asia.
There you go.
You said Asia, right?
It was Asia.
All right, that's the spot then.
Yeah, and it's amazing, Michelle, how without, even though you were intentional and strategic of doing this group together to do this, without even knowing it, like he said, the last 2 days that we've been stuck for 10 hours there, these guys have been cranking tax returns behind the scenes, and we're just seeing the numbers, and we're like, I told Toby, I said, they don't need us here anymore to do this.
And we were reporting back to you. You weren't checking in. We were reporting back to you like, hey, another one closed, another one.
That's amazing.
And, that's, I want to thank you for that.
Oh,
it was
my gosh,
really
thank you.
good. And, I feel like just having this conversation, we have similar vibes and things that happen to us. And then I have connections with you in certain ways. I also didn't go into college. I started this business when I was 20 years old. I did have good support behind family. I had a great mother who, you're explaining it, and I'm like, wow, she doesn't remember the first time I walked. She doesn't remember. Why? Because she's controlling, and she was running the business, and she was focused in the business. And I'll tell you this, I've always thought, I can't speak for my siblings, how they feel about, because, I know my mom maybe sometimes felt like a piece of shit, like you said.
Yeah.
But I also remind her, and I help her to think like, Ma, I don't really care for that. You know why? Because of you, we are where we are right now. Yeah. And we could have been on welfare, Section 8. Yeah. And if you would have remembered...
And you would have been stuck in that mentality.
Yeah, that mentality. Yeah. And then you would remember all my steps that I took when I was a baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
So it's a curse, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So understanding where we come from, and as a single mother, and I'm not sure, if you raised your children.
I raised my 3 kids by myself.
So as a single mother, you need that. Yeah. You don't have that support. I look at my wife now, and I tell her, I'm like, we're so lucky that we have this team. Because I wouldn't be, we would do it without it, but we would be different animals. Yeah. And that's amazing, like, I just found out right now that you raised your kids all by yourself. Yeah. Like, sorry that girls that she didn't see you walk or can't remember this, but look where you at now. And look where your kids are at now.
Yes.
Jess is your daughter, right?
Yeah, she's my middle daughter. She's my 28-year-old.
She's this Google thing you did. She's one of the ones.
She did. Yeah, she's worked for me since she was 14 years old.
Look at that.
She's never sold a house, but worked. She's built out all of the operational stuff.
But she still provides value.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's right. That's amazing. So that's right there. That's an amazing story from a single mother, and I can relate to something like that. So I'm really, really impressed. I already, like I said, I know about Michelle. Now I'm getting to really know Michelle, and that's amazing.
And I think the biggest takeaway that for me for this year that I learned from you is just being strategic. Because I don't think that way. I wake up and I try to put out fires. Like whatever's in front of me, I'm just like, let it come, and I'm trying to prepare myself. But I can't really prepare myself if I don't take a moment to step back, pause, and like reflect on like, is there a better way that I could do this? And everything that you said and every point of your story is just that one word popped up: strategic.
Be strategic, even in your day. Even just if you do one thing, just change your day so that it's strategic. Literally. So this is my money making time. My 3 hours. I'm working on, what's going to really move the lever, like meeting high net worth people or working on things that are going to really bring money in. That's it. And then you're doing 2 hours of your email and 2 hours of your bullshit stuff that you have to do all the time. But really being tactful, that makes a big difference. It's being strategic in your day, huge difference. So if there's one takeaway, that's what I would share.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what my takeaway has been, and I knew this, but it's good to be reminded. Is yesterday when you saw Tony, crying, and he was talking about how important it is to surround yourself with like-minded people that truly love you and have your back and give great energy. That is a game changer. Game changer, hands down, at least for me. When I'm surrounded by the right people, I'm pumped, I'm motivated, I'm like, I fucking got this, let's go. But then when you're surrounded by those people that are negative and are toxic, for me, because I'm so open, I physically get ill.
It drains you.
I physically get ill. So that was my biggest.
You need that for success.
For sure.
When you have toxic people, there's no success, there's no happiness. Your personal life suffers, your kids, everybody around you. That energy, you carry it along everywhere. And so that's probably the biggest game changer. You're right.
Oh, my gosh. Right. I'll tell you a quick story, and I know we got to go back, but I'll tell you a quick story. Last year I had an agent. I won't mention the agent's name, but I had an agent, huge agent on my team, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but was so toxic to the team that I had to fire this person. Now, I think that people were shocked. I had, within an hour, more than half the team said, now you're a boss. Now you're our leader. Because for you to realize that this person was so negative and bringing us all down, that you took the chance and said, I don't care what the money is. It's about our culture. It's about us as a whole. So, that's a really big component of identifying people that no longer serve you or may serve you in a way that is actually bringing you down and getting rid of them and letting them go.
That's a breakthrough moment right there.
Oh, my gosh, that was such a breakthrough. I'm telling you, such a breakthrough. Within a week, I was like, I feel so good.
You freed up all the energy. You're like,
I feel so good. I can sleep.
The revenue didn't matter. Nothing
did not matter. It didn't matter. And I think that that's a big thing, too, when you can identify this is a major problem. I need to let go. Whether it's a person, a relationship, whatever it is, I need to let this go because it no longer serves me.
Yes.
It no longer serves me.
Good job, Michelle. Wow.
That was fun.
that was great.